Hello YouTube, it's good to see you again. I'm so glad to finally be able to record a voiceover for one of these pieces. And I really thought this one would be quite interesting to comment for me. So let's dive into it. So very quickly, I just want to show you the very first sketches I've been doing for the piece. The thing is, I really had this idea in my mind beforehand, which is not always the case, and I decided to go into Procreate to start drafting it. And as you can see, I drafted a couple of sketches, but very roughly, just to have a very basic idea of the piece. And once I was happy with one of them, which is the second one I did, I created a new Procreate file and started, building it into more details. I think this day was actually the first time I decided to completely start from scratch in Procreate and stop drafting and sketching my ideas onto paper for this month, simply because it made me save so much time every day. And so the sketching process for this piece was a bit tricky for me. For some reason, I just kept struggling with her left leg because it has, a very strong shortcut on the thigh. And I just kept redrawing it. And to be honest with you, even on the final piece, I'm still not very happy with this leg, but I just couldn't find out how to make it look better. So I got away with it. And yeah, I also really refined the sketch quite a lot in Procreate, and I even achieved some line art, so I had really something quite precise to work on when I started inking the piece, which was a bit easier for me. So yeah, you will see me refining the lines quite a lot in Procreate, and even trying the gradients at the end of the Procreate time-lapse, because this was the main idea about this piece. It was about inverted gradient from the head to the feet and have something reversed going on with the hair. So I was able to test some of it in Procreate, which was really nice. Now, once I was done with the Procreate sketch, I printed it onto copy paper with my printer and transferred the image onto my mixed media paper with a lightbox. So I ended up with what you see on camera right now, which is a very fine and precise pencil sketch, which will be perfect for me to start inking on. And you will see me start by applying a lot of clean water through the whole piece, which will be used for me to create beautiful wet-on-wet textures and soft ink gradients later on. And I was pretty satisfied with this paper during the whole month, which is Clairefontaine PaintOn mixed media paper. I don't know if you guys can find it where you live, because it seems like it's a French brand. It did pretty great for me during the month, but I don't think it was meant to be used with so much water. So at some point of the video, the paper will start buckling quite a lot and have some interesting artifact happening within the paper fiber, like it would create some kind of little dust and dots, which wasn't planned but added some kind of interesting texture variation. So once I was done with the clean washes all over the piece, I started adding some very light tone to it. And this light tone is actually straight from my dirty water jar, which worked perfectly fine for me during the months. It was pretty interesting because the jar was getting darker and darker every day as I would rinse my brushes in it every day. At the end of the month, it was a pretty dark tone, but still very useful for me. So I was able to reuse this water on and on, which was really nice. Some days I would still, though, eventually make my own ink mixes when I wanted something a bit darker or lighter than what the water jar was giving me, but overall it has been super helpful for me to use. By the way, I've been using a hairdryer between each step to save a bit of time. I learned the hard way that it's generally a bad idea to go ahead without waiting for things to dry. Now let's talk about the meat of the subject, which is the inking and the line art process. Well, this was the specific thing I really wanted to practice this month because I've been really uncomfortable in general using fine liners and black and white. And you will see me in the video randomly jumping from inking with the pen and inking with the paintbrush because this is how I work. I'm just very disorganized and I like to jump from one thing to another and it doesn't always make sense. So sometimes I like to start a piece by doing the line art first and then adding a bit of tone to it with paintbrush. And in this piece I've been doing the opposite, which is, starting with the brushes, building the gradients beforehand and then inking with the pen later on. But I will still jump from one technique to another, as you will see. I figured that it's a bit easier for me to start with a very fine line. So I've been using my finest nib at the beginning of the piece, which is the, I don't have it in front of me, but if I remember well, it's the Uni-Pin 0.1 tip. And I realized after practicing every day, it's a bit easier for me to start with a very fine line and then thicken the line as I will progress in the piece instead of, getting too thick and then not being able to go back to something thinner. I also started adding more and more gradient to the body of the creature. I typically really enjoy when there is a gradient going on from the hand to the arm and then from the feet to the leg. I don't know, I like the visual effect of it. I can't really explain why, but I think it looks pretty cool, so I try adding that. I like to add some fine line details on top of the gradients, as I feel like these two techniques truly complement each other. I switched to the Pentel pocket brush for some of them to add a bit of variety to my line, and switched back to the regular Uni-Pin liner to get thinner details into the hair. Now, getting to the end of the illustration is always super exciting. It's like the sugar coating that brings everything together. I added some light grey washes here and there to mimic smoke and fire, as well as some small black fine liner details to create particles around them and emphasize the general rhythm. And finally, of course, the oh-so satisfying white gel pen details on top of the almost finished drawing to add a bit of sparkling. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching and see you guys soon. Bye! you